Quick update. The broadcast server is up, but I can't communicate with it yet. I can, however, sit and listen to Andre's MP3 collection, which really does me no good, but he has a good taste in music, at least. I have a chat room working now, and spent a little time chatting earlier. Hopefully the communication problem can be solved tomorrow, and I can schedule the show. I will make a video at least 24 hours in advance announcing the time. So this video is about high definition. I do not appear in high definition. That's clear. Well, no, it's not clear. If it were, you could call it high definition, I guess. A friend of mine bought an HD TV recently. They were sold on the fact that the images it presented there at the store were incredible. The salesman stated that all of their TV viewing from now until forever would be crystal clear on this cutting-edge television. He didn't tell them that there were actually very few channels on TV that offered high definition. He also didn't tell them that there's nothing they can do about it. The channels that do say you can request your cable provider offer up more in high definition. I don't know how effective this request will be. The fact is, prices will go up. Cable prices, that is. For the price of, say, a year's worth of standard cable at $45 a month, you could buy a pretty decent TV. Let's say you want to have some premium channels, which cost anywhere from $5 to $20 a month each, and increase the standard cost a little bit too, because everything is in high definition now. You're looking at $70 to $90 a month. Now, I know people who pay this much. That amount of money in 1 year's time will buy a nice 45-inch television, or feed thousands of starving kids somewhere, but out of sight, out of mind. What's the point? Media isn't cheap, and minimum wage isn't going up. When Janet Jackson flopped her, whatever you want to call it, out on national television during the Super Bowl some time back, it changed the way that broadcast media operates. Fines went insanely high for any media outlet that let anything closely resembling profanity hit the air. Some people consider this a good thing. I don't, and you'll see why real soon. I've been hearing advertisements on the radio for something called high-definition radio, channels between the channels that you don't need to pay a subscription for. Just buy a receiver. This is to combat satellite radio's growing audience. What they leave out is that the FCC has total control over that content. They can't say a damn thing about what happens over satellite, though. Yet. Okay, tell me something I don't know, right? Well, radio and television has been dumbed down specifically to target one demographic. This demographic represents a very large portion of America. It is the low-income earners, people who can't afford a $12 a month subscription to hear uncensored programs. And I know everybody's saying, oh, who can't afford that? Well, a lot of people, so don't come down on them for that. Same goes with television. I forget the exact statistics, but only about 40% of households in America have anything outside of basic cable. And only like 20% have premium unregulated channels. I say unregulated, but that's ridiculous. Not to mention the hardware purchases that make listening and viewing this content possible. Don't forget the pressure and want of the newest, prettiest, most functional widget out there. Now think about this. This isn't the 50s, but your television and radio are being sanitized as if it were. I mean, they're cracking down. Where's it coming from? Why all of a sudden? I get this weird feeling that it has something to do with the war on terror. Ever since 9/11, you've lost most of your rights afforded to you by the Constitution upon the dynamic interpretation of the sitting president, and then, at the same time, what you see and hear are being hindered by the FCC. The Internet has combated that somewhat, but Internet usage is still very low among the previously mentioned demographic. So we have a very large percentage of America and an overwhelming majority of the world unable to see or hear anything outside of what this FCC or their local oppressive government deems appropriate. You have to pay for it in one way or another. They say everything's free on the Internet, but I pay $55 a month for my Internet service. I pay extra for a better connection. I also have a top-of-the-line computer to handle it all. It can be argued by saying that, well, dial-up access gives people the opportunity to surf and get all this information, but you have to pay for your phone service as well as the Internet service. Even Net Zero charges money now, and dial-up connections pretty much keep you from viewing anything, any videos. So we're kind of back where we started. And this is really an explosive subject. Personally, I hate even the idea of the FCC, particularly because if something is inappropriate to the extreme that they make it sound, people generally will turn the channel and keep their kids from watching. And it's like, the difference between HBO and ABC. I mean, people just keep their kids from watching it, But popularity rules in the media. That's the thing. And the FCC is simply a complaint department with the power to decide for you. I've heard instances of complaints to the FCC numbering in the hundreds initiating actual regulations. What the hell? Why are these hundreds of people deciding what I am able to hear or see? Well, they're not. That's the FCC's job. And who are they? Go look up FCC in an encyclopedia, and I will say very little more. It is so damn alarming as to how much power they have that I won't even begin to try and break it down. Except for this. One section of the FCC is called the Enforcement Bureau. The Enforcement Bureau is responsible for enforcement of provisions of the Communications Act of 1934, rules, orders, terms and conditions of station authorizations. Areas of enforcement that are handled by the Enforcement Bureau are consumer protection, local competition, public safety, and homeland security. Homeland security? Does that sound familiar? Why did they have their hand in this? Although the act itself, written in 1934, is quite old, it seems prophetic now, doesn't it? What a handy phrase to throw in, so when it's actually needed, the Department of Homeland Security need not worry about what's on TV. They have bigger snakes to skin, like the Constitution. Instead, the FCC makes sure that you see what the federal government and the Department of Homeland Security want you to see. So it's no coincidence that the crackdown of broadcast liberty has been yanked. Not slowly, either. It was a landslide after 9/11. Anything became possible after that day. Not for the Americans. Every second that went by and they didn't ask a question, the government worked diligently to make sure they would never get an answer. Broadcast is the only truly free information, and the FCC controls it. I said before, minimum wages aren't going up. That's a very powerful weapon, and the federal government controls it.
It's time to give a damn, let's work together.